What is up? Coming to you live from the Cat House in Montebello, California for maybe only 2 more weeks because we're moving. It's time for Dre's Geek Philosophy Podcast, the Monday, October 26th edition. This is 2020. Episode 197. What is going on? I hope this week I can see comments. Last week I could not. I missed several comments by one of our patrons, Daniel Wong, throughout the show. We're back to our normal angle because I am here alone. My wife and child are not here. They're probably off gallivanting with grandma right now. Doing what? I don't know. They didn't text me to let me know, but they partially probably went out just to let me have the house quietly to myself, I guess, while I do the show. So here I am. Here we are live. I hope there are comments today. I hope people can see. Hopefully I can see comments. I'm tapping buttons here. Let's just do that real quick. Test. All right, I can see comments. Yay! How's everyone doing tonight? We're on earlier than we normally are. Normally, in these last few months of managing baby time, we usually get on about 8:30, but we're on about 8:17 p.m. in Pacific time. If you're listening to the audio version of this later on, then it's not really going to matter. But here we are. And the number one thing, so between last show and this show, the Borat sequel came out, and I watched that. I didn't watch it all the way through in one sitting. I had to watch it little by little. I don't know if any of you have Amazon Prime and have watched this. I know executive producer Sam Zia, he watched it and he laughed his ass off. He was incredibly delighted by the film. I was entertained, but good God, it was... There are several times as I was watching that movie, I had to stop and regain my composure. Sometimes from laughing, but other times just from like shock. It's like I had to shake my head because Sacha Baron Cohen, his sense of humor. There is no line he will not cross. You show him a line and he is gonna jump over it. And yeah, he really did. As a person who is a liberal, but for better or for worse from your point of view, he really showed how conservatives are a bunch of idiots. I mean, I have to, if you haven't seen that stuff or even heard, this movie really, it's a referendum on conservative Republicans left and right. That's his goal. He infiltrates them and he shows them, because some of the stuff is scripted and some of the stuff is impromptu. He crashed a Trump rally. He crashed a conservative conference where Mike Pence was, and he was dressed as Donald Trump. It was pretty ridiculous. If you have any interest in this movie, I recommend it. I recommend watching it. It's very different from his first movie 14 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long since his previous one, and I love the little nods at the very beginning of the movie. It's like it acknowledges, oh yeah, people know who he is. Like he tries to walk around Texas, and people are just running up to him. And my boss at work was like, people still know that stuff. I'm like, no, it's in the age of the internet, we know everything. If anything's borderline ridiculous, we're gonna react to it and say something. And so people are just running up to Borat. If you see Borat, you're gonna be like, hey, look, my wife. One of my favorite podcasts, they still reference my wife all the damn time. People know who Borat is. He's a piece of popular culture, and then he reintroduced it again, and it's funny. So Borat had to disguise himself in order to do a bunch of stupid shit. It was pretty hilarious and horrifying. Just like when he would say like ridiculous things to some of these people, and how they would just not react. Like he told a lady in a bakery he had her, put icing on a cake, and just without saying, she goes, "Jews will not replace us." And then the lady just writes it out, like not questioning it, just okay, no problem. That's what you want on the cake. And put a bunch of happy faces all around it. It was like little things like that where I was just like, yeah, this is how we got where we are. Just where people are just like, okay, this is fine, this is normal, this is okay. And there's several instances where he's talking to, I hate to say it this way, he's talking to regular ass Southern white people, and they're just like, okay, like he'll say something ridiculous, and they're like the Undertaker. You just punch them, not selling it. I am the Undertaker. I have no reaction to what you just did. That's literally what happens a lot in this movie. Like he continually says excessively racist, excessively sexist, excessively ridiculous things, and these people are just like unfazed in any way, shape, or form. Insane. Just, I recommend it just simply because it's a microcosm of what this world is right now. If you don't understand how we wound up where we are right now and how we're barreling into next Tuesday, unsure about what's going to happen, this movie is I'm sure it's no coincidence that this movie came out a couple weeks before Election Day. There's no shock there. Yeah, everything you've heard about the Rudy Giuliani scene, it's fucking true. It's insane. Motherfucker reached into his pants. He was pulling on his dick. He was readjusting his junk. He thought that the beautiful little blonde reporter was gonna blow him, and then Borat ran in on him. And like, I'm sure that's what everybody's heard. You have to see there's screenshots, but if you see the scene in its entirety from start to finish, you're just like, yeah, Giuliani was angling for a blowjob and maybe more. He was just. Why did Borat stop it? Just cause I don't know why. I mean, maybe he didn't want the poor actress to have to actually blow Rudy Giuliani. Maybe he has some morals. I mean, he didn't want to have to record a live sex act, and maybe that would have, I'm sure the poor lawyers that have to like go through all this stuff with Sasha, they probably, okay, we can only go this far before we're breaking some laws. If that, and heaven knows, I'm sure that the actress who was playing his daughter, I'm sure she didn't want to blow old man Giuliani. I mean, it might have been, like as you were saying, Rolando, it might have been much more effective. I'm like, why'd he stop it? I'm sure it's much more of a legal and but not subjecting this poor actress to having to go down on this old man. I mean, that would be the most logical reasoning I could think of. I'm sure it's more of a litigious thing at the end of the day, because I remember Sasha talking about, his first Borat movie, how there were so many freaking lawsuits, and I wonder how sometimes they can get clearance for some of these. Well, I was discussing this at work with my boss, like how were they able to, they didn't have to blur out Rudy Giuliani, they can actually put him on camera, because I think it's more because he's a public figure, so he doesn't really have control over his image. Maybe, I think that may be the legal loophole they could jump through, because there's other people throughout the movie where some people had their images blurred, where they probably didn't give their consent, and other people might have given their consent after the fact, or given their consent before, not knowing what they were giving their consent to, showing up in this Borat sequel, or they didn't know they were in a Borat movie because he wasn't dressed as Borat, he was dressed as a weird eccentric redneck, or whatever other bullshit he was spewing to get this movie done. That's why I'm shocked that he was able to get this sequel done in this current age where people know, but there's plenty of stupid people out there who are probably, they just see a cameraman, they're like, okay, I want to be on camera, I want to be famous. They have no idea what they're signing for. There could be a fake title, or a fake documentary that they're selling it as what would eventually be the Borat sequel. But hey, some people sign away their rights for no reason. Like I could talk about on the show, gamers give away their rights all the time without even knowing. So I'm sure it works just the same in in filming. I mean, if you go to back when we could go to nerd conventions, there's usually posted signs that tell you by walking in here you're giving your consent to being photographed or videotaped by the convention or there's some sort of legalese where like, oh, you see that sign, and like, you can't walk in if you don't want to be videotaped because you're gonna be on camera. So I don't know how that works. I'm sure some of these people willingly gave up the rights or unknowingly gave up their rights. It happens in all forms of media. But yeah, this movie is just, if you have Prime or if you have a friend with Amazon Prime, yeah, check it out. It's yeah, if you're super duper liberal, it's gonna be amusing. If you're very conservative, results may vary. That's the best way I can put it for this Borat subsequent movie film. Because it's just the script because the Giuliani is like the second to last thing that happens. The scripted ending, the scripted plot ending, I was just I can't describe the kind of laughter that I was letting out at the purpose of Borat's mission from his leaders in Kazakhstan. It was pretty it's pretty ridiculous, and there's some great cameos that happen at the end as well. It's I recommend. I was talking about. I was about to divulge a bunch of plot stuff to my boss. I asked him, "Are you gonna want to watch this?" Because there's just some really funny stuff throughout. I mean, obviously everyone knows about the Giuliani thing, but there's other ridiculous things throughout the film that it tackles the coronavirus in a very Borat way. Let's just say that. So that was a big thing. I watched that. I finished that yesterday morning. I watched it in pieces just because it was hard for me to swallow. Something else, because I was dooting around on Amazon Prime. There's this show. It's been out for a couple of years. The Boys. I hadn't watched it. Honestly, I kind of didn't have interest in it. It's weird because it's source material. It's one of my favorite writers and one of my favorite artists, but for whatever reason, I remember when I tried to read it way back when, like 10, 15 years ago when it originally came out, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know if it was just something, there's something about the book that didn't jive with me, because this writer, he had written one of my favorite books, Preacher. This artist had drawn one of my favorite comic books, Transmetropolitan. You would think this would be chocolate and peanut butter for me, right? If you the math, and you do the math. Okay, this writer that I've read a bunch of his shit, this artist, I really enjoyed his art when he did Transmetropolitan. You would think, oh, we mesh these two together. I mean, actually, it kind of worked as when they were working for Marvel, they put out this Nick Fury series that was part of the Marvel Max line, which was really intense and hilarious. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it's I didn't get into it early enough, or I felt like I was out of the loop, so I never got into The Boys. But after I finished watching Borat, I was still had the time. Tiger was napping, so I'm all right. Let me I had seen a lot of my people I follow on Twitter and a lot of my Facebook friends talking about The Boys season 2 throughout the last couple months, because Amazon, like Disney Plus, they don't just drop everything in one giant dump so everyone can just binge it. They treat you like old school television, and you have to watch one episode a week. And I love how it drives people insane. That I derive a twisted pleasure from the suffering of people who want to binge. Because technically now I could binge these 2 seasons, but I have a kid. I don't have that kind of time. I'm going to be lucky if we can get in 1 or 2 episodes a week, which is how they were released. So yesterday morning, I fired up the first episode of The Boys while Ty was asleep, and I watched it. I was actually kind of blown away how compelling it is. How it was really good. I was blown away. It was really well put together, and quite. I mean, in spite of the fact it is really super duper graphic, it is just. It's based on a Garth Ennis piece of work, so yeah, it's gonna be very graphic and detailed in how they handle every subject matter. So I watched it and I was like, well, this is really good. And then my wife got home and I was telling her, oh yeah, I know, I watched this. I don't know if you're gonna want to watch this, because it was a funny thing. Like last year, while Rosa was pregnant, normally she likes to watch the stuff with me, but when she was carrying Ty, she would have dreams of all this bad, like whatever we were watching. We were binging Game of Thrones because she had never seen it, and she started having Game of Thrones dreams. Like, no, I can't have this kind of negativity while I'm holding the baby. But like now, okay, baby's out, and we haven't really sat down and binged anything other than her favorite show, Pose. We watched a whole lot of that, or I think that was the last show that we kind of binged. And so I was describing this show. I'm like, I don't know if you're gonna want to watch this. I described some of the plot points from the first episode. I only even made it halfway through. I was telling her, and she's like, this is really fucking interesting. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like really crazy. Black male blowjobs and freaking superheroes being shitty and freaking killing people wantonly. And she's like, I want to see this. I'm like, all right, after we put Ty to bed, however long it's going to take us later in the evening, we'll put Ty to bed. We'll fire it up on the television. I watched, I was just watching it on my phone because that's how you do it things nowadays. And we put it on the PlayStation, watched it on TV, and she watched it, and she was like, holy crap, this is really good. But it was already, at that point, it was already like 11 o'clock, and it was like, oh, it's Sunday night, and then we need to get to sleep because Tiger's going to wake us up who knows how many times throughout the night. So now it's like, all right, we got to find time throughout. In the middle of, right now, we're trying to pack up our whole house because we're moving. The big move happens in less than 2 weeks. So, how do we find time to watch the show? But the show, like I said, really great. I'll explain it. Like the main, the lead, Carl Urban. I was trying to explain to my wife, oh no, this guy's a fucking chameleon. He is in a lot of big movies, but people don't know it unless you're like a crazy movie fan like me. You're not gonna know. Oh, he was the freaking the leader of the Writers Rohan in the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, and Return of the King. Oh, he was the bad guy in The Bourne Supremacy. He was the bad guy in Riddick. And where I feel like he got a lot of praise, but he was, Bones in the recent Star Trek movies directed by the Fast and Furious guys. Or, he was Judge Dredd in the good Judge Dredd movie that came out a little while ago. This dude is like a freaking, he's blends in to things. He was the freaking, and the one where my wife recognized, I was like, oh, he was the Executioner in Thor Ragnarok. It's like, he's a chameleon. He's a really good character actor who just melts into the scenery, and you don't know he's there until he shows up, and then he's really cool, and then he just goes away. And so, and he plays the lead in this show, Billy Butcher, and he's just dropping the C-bombs left and right, because he gets the... I don't, because he's from New Zealand, but he's like Robert Duvall, great supporting actor, but sometimes takes a lead role. Yeah, that's a very good analogy right there, Ryan. Yeah, he's tremendous support. And I was looking over his whole filmography, and I'm like, he just pops in and out of things. I think there was another show he had like a leading role in a while back on Fox that didn't make it. It was like Being Human or something. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that they had given him, and he co-starred with The Rock in freaking in that bad Doom movie. I think he was like the co-lead in that one, if I recall correctly. I think I might have that movie on DVD just because it had The Rock in it, and that was back when we were getting all sorts of stolen DVDs traded into my GameStop, way back when in 2004 and 2005. But yeah, this guy is awesome, and like seeing him just like chew up the scenery, just in this one episode of the show, he just shows up, and he's just C-bombing left and right, and he's just being all super cool. I love him, the kid, call him, you look like someone from the porno version of The Matrix. But he's just being a badass. I really enjoyed it. It was just, I can't wait to get into more of it, especially with, I know some things here and there just from seeing people talk about it on Twitter like the last few months. I'm looking forward to season 2 because this one actress from another show, Aya Cash, she was in You're the Worst, if you ever watched that show on FX. Like, she plays friggin' another villainous, what do you call it, superhero. Yeah, Comic-Con '06, the Doom panel looked good. Yeah, it's funny because I remember that movie being weird and like, oh, okay, this is a thing where like I mean, spoiler alert, 14-year spoiler alert. Like, I think The Rock ended up, being the bad guy or getting infected. I think Carl had to kill him. And the movie frequently went into first-person mode because Doom was a first-person game. So I think there was that movie like was trying to do things ahead of its time, I guess. But I think I have it somewhere in my DVD collection, maybe. But yeah, Carl Urban, awesome, and I'm excited to consume more of this show. And definitely not in front of the baby. Oh man, just the first freaking few minutes, I was just normally I'm really good at seeing bad things coming, and as the show progresses, I'm sure I'm gonna pick up a lot more hints. But it's like the first 10 minutes, you just get your freaking heart ripped out of your chest. You're like, okay, this is fucked. All right, I forgot that I was reading something based on a Garth Ennis book. There's gonna be all sorts of fucked up things happening throughout. Although I like, if you've already seen the show, like, the first episode, like, as soon as evil Elizabeth Shue told the Baltimore mayor or whatever, hey, have a safe flight, I'm like, oh, this dude's dead. The Homelander is gonna crash that fucking plane, and lo and behold, the wife saw it coming too. She's like, oh yeah. As soon as she said, have a safe flight, I'm like, that dude is fucked. That dude, and then you just see freaking evil Superman. Hi. Boom! Just, it's really good. Yeah, I vastly underestimated how enjoyable this show is. We'll see how it is throughout the. I remember just people were kind of disappointed with the end of season 2, but you know what? Hey, I enjoy things that people are disappointed with because I think other people set their hesitation, they set their expectation levels way too high. That mommy issue. Oh man, I can't wait to see more of the boys. But right now, and this is gonna lead me to another streaming thing. I realized as I was writing up the format for this week, it's like, all right, I just great second season. Okay, see. All right, good. See, like I said, I think there's people out there who write their own conclusions in their head for shows, and not just, oh, let me just watch the show and see where the writer is taking me, and not be like, oh, the writer didn't do what I wanted them to do. It's like, no, I mean, like, you should only be disappointed if you're not enjoying it, Dexter. No, you know what? Let me catch myself there. Something that got announced last week. I forget if I talked about this last week, but my memory is bad. They're bringing Dexter back. Speaking of shows that were disappointing, I was only disappointed at the end of that show because it wasn't as good as it was in the beginning. Like, if they had killed that show after 3 seasons, I would have been like really sad. But man, that was some really good television. But like, it just kept dragging. It was like a corpse that like dragged itself forward, and I was really shocked that like they're bringing it back after the way like. They didn't pull the trigger on the Pornhub stepbrother sex or whatever was going on between Deb and Dexter, and they're finally catching up to the Bay Harbor. See, I see that a lot of these revivals they want to bring back the original. Skip. Ryan, just that last season was just don't ever watch that last. I watched it out of habit, and just to see where the F they were going, and it's just weird and just fucked up. So I mean, if they bring back the showrunner from the beginning, maybe there's hope. But where we left Dex last was he's a non-homicidal lumberjack somewhere in the Yukon, somewhere maybe in Canada. Who knows? But I'm sure his urge to kill will rise, I'm sure. And then they're going to, hopefully it'll be interesting. I don't have Showtime, so we'll see. I'll wait for it to show up on Netflix in 2022. Yeah, yes, Rolando. You can, yeah. After Trinity, yeah. If they could have just ended right there. If the last image of Dexter would have been a poor little Harrison, sitting in the blood, just like Dexter was found in the blood, I think that would have been a relative, much more satisfying than where they went with it, where they just dragged it out. They just dragged that show all over the place. I mean, the supporting cast was just treated like crap, and then Dexter just he had no direction, and that's where it gets disappointing. Not like, I expected this to happen. Like, I'm watching what's happening. Like, this is not fun. This is not the excitement of the early seasons. Where I still to this day, so surprise, motherfucker. Any chance I get, I will. If I can use that GIF in some way, shape, or form when I'm communicating with someone, I can just say surprise, motherfucker, and just like, I remember Dokes, and how they just like straight up killed Dokes. God damn it! But they had to do it to keep the. I felt like, especially later on in the show, they kept writing themselves into a corner, and having to do something stupid to get themselves out of it, and that's where that's poor writing when you have to do something absurd to get yourself out of a situation you've created where you're not planning ahead. Like, I remember like the end of Dexter, because Dexter ended at the same time as Breaking Bad, and I was like, that's like the two polar opposites of how you end a show. Where like Vince Gilligan and his team, they knew, I'm sure, when they had everything plotted out, they had their beginning, middle, and end. They knew how they wanted to end Breaking Bad, where the people working on Dexter were like, how can we keep dragging this on? Oh shit, it's our last season. We have no idea how we're going to end this. There was no plan. It was just like, all right. Then a hurricane came and devastation reigned, and then Dex went dripping down the drain. He took his boat to the temple and made his own name. I'm not sorry for that. I will never be sorry for a Hamilton reference. And never ever. That's a tweet I keep wanting to make, where I like, because right now we've been, depending on where you're at, we've been locked down. I haven't really been locked down. My job has kept going. I can't really do my job from home, so but like everyone, you're locked down for the most part. Like, what skill have you worked on while you're locked down? I mean, for me, I feel like I have developed 3 skills. I have gotten a lot better at graphic design, which you can see on our YouTube page, as I make nice little graphics for all the videos. I've been starting to do that for some of the Facebook videos as well. I've been getting better audio editing. I've been learning how to use Audacity here more. And my third skill is Act 1 Hamilton karaoke. That's the one. That's my big one. That's the one I really have honed that one the most. When we get karaoke back in a normal way, like in 2025 or whatever year we get through this fucking pandemic, I'm gonna be ready to fucking do some fucking Hamilton at karaoke, and I hope there's some of my karaoke friends are fucking ready, because we're gonna just fucking nail some fucking Hamilton and shit. I want to be doing some George Washington and Aaron Burr parts. I'm ready. Honestly, I keep trying to get the Alexander Hamilton parts, but it's too fucking fast. I'm not a young man anymore. There's some times where Lin-Manuel Miranda's just rapping way too fucking fast, especially like during that big part of my shot. He's just like, and I'm just like, nah, it's not gonna happen. If I was 20 years old, yeah, I could sit there. Ryan, you have memorized Coco, Moana, and Big Hero 6. I'm sure your young boy has been enjoying those movies. I eagerly await when Tiger will start making requests. Currently, My wife and I we've watched a lot of PBS Kids. That's what we put on for him. And currently, Tiger's favorite thing is Molly of Denali. That's his, like, where he reacts, he pays attention, and I tease him without him knowing. I'm like, oh, your girlfriend's on. Molly of Denali's on. And soon we will graduate to Disney movies with songs, and I'm sure Ty will find his favorites, and I will have to. I have no doubt that I will have Your Welcome memorized from Moana at some point in time, because I'm sure he'll get into it, because my little dude, he loves a good beat. He shakes his butt. It's like especially when there's some songs on PBS Kids, or we put on some music, he'll grab onto the side of his little Tiger Land or the side of his crib. He'll start shaking his butt. He got some rhythm. He got rhythm from mommy and daddy. But all right, there was a point I was going to make a little while ago before I got myself derailed talking about Dexter. So I don't know how we're going to fit in all these episodes of The Boys, because this Friday, Disney Plus, The Mandalorian comes back. We are super fucking excited here in this house. We have our little baby Yoda, and we want to see the further adventures of Lone Wolf and Cub. I mean, the Mandalorian and the child. He's Baby Yoda in this house. We don't care. He's a tiny Yoda species, whatever you want to call it. The child, Baby Yoda. We're fucking excited. I'm sure there's going to be a wave of people reactivating their Disney Plus. We've kept ours going the whole time. My wife likes to put on National Geographic. I poke in and out whenever I can, throwing on some Disney Afternoon, or just putting on Hamilton whenever I darn well please. But yeah, this Friday we got more Mando, one episode at a time. So I think that's the weekends we're gonna have to figure out. We can time Tiger's naps, or just wait till, well, we won't be able to do it on the 7th. That's when we're doing our big move from here we're moving to Orange County. I'm moving 3 minutes away from my job, somewhere in Brea. The Clone Wars animated series. Yes, I've watched. Yes, I remember back when the Clone Wars was going away from Netflix, and this is however many years ago that was going to happen. I sat and I binge watched the entire Clone Wars, and that made the prequels like so much better. They're the same. I'm aware that it's the same guy in charge of it, Dave Filoni, who did the Clone Wars, who's also in charge of The Mandalorian, or he's the technical advisor. The first season is kind of it's very weird. It's very bad guy of the week, but later on, it gets really good. Yeah, and just as right now Ryan just said, there's a bunch of Clone Wars characters coming to The Mandalorian. We call it Rosario Dawson's gonna be playing Ahsoka Tano, which I'm very excited about. She was at first she was kind of annoying to me in Clone Wars, but she grew on me over time. She became a really cool and a very interesting character. And yeah, then I still have to. I gotta see. I think all the episodes of Rebels are on Disney Plus. I need to watch more of Rebels. That's another great show. I was starting it, or a little bit after, or I think right before Tiger was born. I just never got back to sitting and watching it, because we're always, especially when Ty was a little tiny toddler, there was no time to sit and watch anything at that point in time. January, February, March, when he was a little toddler, it was like, I don't have time to sit and watch things. I have to take care of this tiny baby. Now that he's toddling around, I can put him in his walker or his jumper. I can buy some time. Yeah, Rex and Boba Fett are being played by Tamara Morrison. That's freaking awesome. Right, because Boba Fett's supposed to show up in the second season of The Mandalorian, I think. There's a lot of stuff. But yeah, that Clone Wars original series. Yeah. I think you got to get through that first one. That first season's kind of like it's like standard animation. We're here to sell toys. And then I think the second season going forward was really good. I was just like, I remember I really got into it. They kind of dug into a lot more of the Star Wars lore and like Jedis, and like you learn a lot about about the Sith, and you learn about the Night Sisters. You learn about all kinds of stuff. You see like Darth Maul come back and all this, and they're like, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" And there's a whole lot of what the fuck moments. So, yeah, especially in the second and third ones, and then the Lost season, or the stuff that was only on Netflix. There's some really good stuff there. You get to see how Jedi become ghosts. Like they have to go through training so they can be a Jedi ghost or something. At least they try to establish that. You have to you can't just become a ghost. And then they establish that, like, oh, that Qui-Gon was the one who figured it out first, and then you see he teaches Yoda, who then teaches yeah. They kind of establish kind of a timeline. Dave Filoni, he's really him and his team. I don't want to just say it's just him. Oh, there's a cat in the background. Hi, Tina. They really they try to establish a lot of stuff in that show where, like, oh, they try to make things in the prequels and the sequels and everything else make sense. They try to put a lot more backstory into Star Wars, which is it was kind of like what the purpose of the original, comic books and novels were to, fill in that expanded universe. And the Clone Wars did a good job of trying to get all that too. Or like, I don't know if you got a chance to go on the ride at Disneyland before everything got shut down. There, one of the characters from Clone Wars, he's there, Hondo. I forget what Hondo's last name, but he has a Hondo Onata. That's right. I'm like, he had a really cool Star Wars name, Hondo Onata. He's one of the little characters that you interact with in the little screens for the Smuggler's Run at Disneyland's the Galaxy's Edge. So like a lot of the Clone Wars stuff, and then now it's obviously working its way into the Mandalorian, because you got the guy who worked on it, and it was funny. If you have Disney Plus, they did a little documentary after the Mandalorian was done, where they talked to a lot of the directors and a lot of the different people that worked on it, and then you get to hear a lot of the stuff from Dave Filoni himself, and you get to where it's like, this guy is like a legit fan. Like, he loves all of Star Wars. He's not like a lot of these newer fans or older fans that it's the original trilogy or nothing or whatever. Oh, it's the expanding universe, the original expanding universe or nothing. All this new stuff is crap. Where Dave's like, no, we can keep expanding, and that's why everyone kind of unified over even though the Mandalorian is still a Disney produced Star Wars thing. Everyone like, even a lot of the Star Wars religious zealots, as I've called them before on this show, even they accepted the Mandalorian because it just had that feel of just like, this feels like Star Wars, in spite of they're Disneyfying everything and blah blah blah. It's like, it's all Star Wars. Even, and then he kind of gets into that in that documentary. So I really recommend that, where there's a documentary, like different episodes where they talk to the creators. They have the different directors. Yeah, they have Jon Favreau talking to all the different people who directed different episodes. You get a little bit of Taika Waititi in there, which is always a good thing, if you ask me. In my opinion, any Taika that you get is good. Taika is awesome. He makes me laugh. That's another show that we're trying to find a way to watch. We're trying to watch What We Do in the Shadows. We've saw, becoming parents, we've fallen so behind in all this television, which on one hand is good, because now we have, like, when the time comes and we somehow find time, there's plenty of shows that we'll be able to just sit and waste time away on. But right now they're building up. I'm like, oh wow, there's already like a couple of seasons of What We Do in the Shadows. There's a couple seasons of The Boys. We got this Mando coming. We're probably gonna go out of our way to watch Mandalorian, just because I want to be able to talk about it. All right, I almost named that kid Taika. I don't blame you one bit. If I thought I could have got away with it, I would have floated that one through the wife. But but he was taken by another friend. You want to know where that happened with me? Let me tell you, Ryan, where that happened with me. I was getting really attached to naming the kid Miles. I really wanted to name the kid Miles. I'm like, Miles Morales, hell yeah. Into the Spider-Verse, one of my favorite movies now of all time. I freaking love Miles Morales. He's so freaking cool. Well, why do we name the kid Miles? But one of my buddies from Disney had a kid a couple months before us, named his boy Miles. I'm like, well, can't do that now. I was just like, I was like, oh my God. And it's funny, like, I stumbled upon it because as my wife and I, she'd always be like looking around. We'd be driving while she was pregnant. She'd like look around and like, oh, how does that name sound? I'm like, you're just pulling names off the freaking street. Oh, and I'd be like, oh, street name, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, looking in the car. Oh, Miles. I'm like, oh, wait, Miles. Oh, like, when it freaking like, boom, I was just like, oh, boop. I'm like, Miles Morales. How have I not, like, we're naming the kid Miles. And she's like, no, we're not. I'm like, yeah, we're going to name the kid Miles. Hell yeah. He's going to be Miles Cervantes or Miles Limon. You know, he's going to be Miles. I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, Miles Morales. Hell yeah, it's freaking cool. It's like, no, only because of the way you came about it. I'm like, no, it's not about the journey, it's about the destination. Sometimes I say the other way around. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But you know what? In that instance, how I got to there didn't matter. The fact I got there, I'm like, oh yeah, Miles Morales. Duh. How did I not have this in the freaking wheelhouse? How is this not in the freaking in the finalists? You know, one of my good buddies from Disney, one of the people I still keep in contact. He had his third boy a few months before us, and yep, named him Miles. I was like, well, that's out. Don't want any confusion if we have the two kids meet. Oh, is that Miles? Here's Miles. Hey, Miles, meet Miles. Like, nope. We settled on Tiger, and you know what? It turned out to be a very appropriate name for this rapscallion of a child. This little aggressive, strong little man. He's so huge and strong. Tiger is such a perfect name for our little guy. And I'm missing him right now. He's not here. I don't know why. I'm gonna have to text the little. I thought they were gonna walk in. I honestly, I think they're probably waiting until after 9 to come home because they probably want me to finish the podcast without interruption or without any noise or whatnot. And honestly, it's been a very smooth operation today. And here we're almost to 9 p.m. One last thing before we wrap up the show here today. I saw something stupid on the internet this past week. Apparently, one of the people who works on that failed thing that Google tried to do, the Stadia, he put out a tweet that I hope he regrets. I don't know. He might be dumb enough not to regret it. This moron thought, oh, gamers should pay to be able to stream games. Some idiot developer. I'm sure you know he might not be alone in this thought, because a lot of developers and publishers probably feel like, wait a minute, these people are monetizing themselves, because you know there's a lot of streamers out there who earn a lot of money playing the games. I'm sure Epic, you know, well, maybe Epic might be a little bit different. They probably don't feel that negatively. Where like, oh, you got like a guy like Ninja out there who's like playing Fortnite every day, and he's earning a crazy amount of money from people watching him. But he's not earning the money because, oh, he's playing Fortnite. He's earning the money because, oh, there's something compelling about his personality and how he's able to gather all these people. He plays with celebrities. There's something about him, and that's why he's earning the money, not because it's Fortnite. I'm sure Fortnite helps. It's, you know, it was one of the most popular games on Twitch up until recently, with freaking everyone playing freaking Among Us now on Twitch. But yeah, I just thought it was. I agree with a lot of the internet where like this dude should have like that one that should have stayed in the drafts. Is like that oh, all these people should be paying the developers to stream games. Like, no, it's advertising. It's free advertising for all these developers and publishers. It's only helping. It helps more than it hurts. I'm sure these developers, and then at the end of the day, these people who are streaming the games, they already bought the game. I mean, whether or not they paid full price, who knows? But they already contributed. If they're streaming it, then they got it. And I feel like most of the time they paid for the game, unless the publisher comped them, and then that's on them. They comp them on the hope that, oh, if this streamer plays the game, more people will buy it. It's a give and take. It's just illogical. And yeah, the guy got dragged on Twitter, and even to the point where Google had to like they made a comment where they're like, no, we don't agree with what this guy who's working on Stadia. We don't agree on what he said. That no, the streaming is something separate. The gamers should not have to pay to stream games. It's just the amount of equipment alone that has to go into this. It's just like that's the cost of going into it. And speaking of streams, I've been doing a lot of streams. I've been using my old phone here to stream a bunch of Switch stuff. This past week I haven't been able to because we've been getting ready to do a lot of the moving. I have to see if I can try to sneak in because I haven't posted any streaming videos. There's a lot of fun stuff. It was Super Mario 35. I've been trying to do one of those a week while the game exists until next March. I really enjoy Super Mario 35. There was a video up on our YouTube and on our Facebook gaming page where it's me trying to play while holding Tiger. I'm holding him. He's sitting on my forearm, and I have the controller in my hand. And yes, it's 9 minutes of chaos. I highly recommend checking out that video, whether you check it out on our Facebook page or check it out on our YouTube page. You get Ty messes the camera. He kills me a couple of times because I eventually sit him down on my lap, and he starts just grabbing the controller, and just he does his job. He is chaos incarnate, and it is adorable and hilarious. I highly recommend that one. And also another series I'm doing right now is me playing Super Mario Sunshine. I have never played Super Mario Sunshine before. The game is really weird. I am like confounded by the weirdness of this game. Shigeru Miyamoto, he comes up with some weird stuff. He's like, hey, let's put a water backpack or a water jetpack on Mario. And yeah, it's really weird. I've been having fun playing it. I recommend go check it out. Like my weird reactions to that. And then right now we also have me playing the new Kingdom Hearts rhythm game. There was a demo. I downloaded that. We posted a video of me playing that demo. It plays like if you ever play the 3DS theater rhythm games, it plays kind of like that. Check it out. Go to our YouTube page or go to our game stream page. We have a separate game stream page. Sometimes I share those videos onto this Facebook page if you're watching live, or if you're watching this on YouTube later. There's a whole bunch of game stream videos. Please check those out. Give us some views. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. I learned from a friend, if I get 100 subscribers, then I can change the URL, because right now it's just my URL is YouTube/number. If we somehow get to 100 subscribers, I can change that to youtube.com/Dre's Geek Philosophy. So if any of you are inclined, I already have a few friends who subscribe, but if we can find 73 more people, we can get that custom URL. So we can go. Please check that out. Go see us on YouTube. There are a whole bunch of fun videos. We got the archive. It's a much easier way to access the archive of our older episodes. I've also been posting a lot of the older episodes of the podcast on there. I've been finding trying to find older episodes, like trying to scroll through the old episodes on Facebook is a bit of a pain in the ass. So that's why I've been archiving them. I've been finding them, posting them on our YouTube page. They're nice and accessible. I'm gonna make like season playlists, and I'm even making custom cards for each season. You get the title page and then the episode number. That way be sure to check that out. As always, check out our social media. Twitter @DreGP Podcast. I frequently tweet now. I've gotten a lot better at Twitter. I post a lot of funny, ridiculous things. I reply to a lot of stupid things with equal stupidity or jokes. Instagram @DreGP Podcast. I've been trying to put more stuff up there as well. And of course, if you're watching this on Facebook, where you already know where to find us. But if you're watching this on YouTube or listening to the audio version, check us out on Facebook. Facebook.com/DreGP Podcast. And as always, we have one of our patrons watching right now, Ryan Tanaka. Check us out on Patreon. Trying to put together some exclusive Patreon content, but it's hard enough trying to put together all the content we already have. But I keep looking at that. I'm like, I gotta put something up for our patrons. I have to for our awesome guys like Ryan, like Daniel Wong, like Art Solorio, our 3 patrons. Got to make sure I want to take care of those guys with some exclusive content on there. So be sure to check all that out. Please help out the show. If you can help us monetarily, awesome. If you want to help us out in other ways, just by just watching stuff, subscribing, giving us views, giving us likes, that also helps immensely. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next week. I'm going to hopefully have some more gaming videos up here on our Facebook and on our YouTube page. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys next time.